Kanu. He does! The captain has won the game for Nigeria. The man who's saved the game. Warning. Sends it to Victor Osimhen.
Moving swiftly on to looking at all the different leagues for us to be aware of in terms of our Super Eagles players. So usually, you know, I'll do a review of how players have performed in all the big 5 leagues and the other leagues. But some of those leagues have not started, so I'll just be previewing things for us to be aware of ahead of the new season starting in those divisions over the next weekend. So starting with the Premier League as usual, we know the Premier League returns on Friday with Brentford taking on Arsenal and a lot of other games happening on Saturday and Sunday. However, over the past weekend on Saturday, we had the English curtain raiser in terms of the season with the FA Cup champions Leicester City taking on Manchester City, who were the Premier League winners. It was at Wembley and Leicester City managed to win 1-0, which was fantastic. I was initially upset when I was watching this game because Kelechi did not start the match, and I was just like, this guy is literally one of the biggest reasons why Leicester won this tournament in the first place. But anyway, Kelechi Iheanacho finally came on in the 77th minute and managed to have the biggest impact in the game. So he won the penalty with Nathan Ake just doing some stupidness and scored the penalty as well in the 87th minute to win the game 1-0 for Leicester and be the hero again. So what a fantastic start to the season for Kelechi yet again, and I'm hoping he could kick on. I think Leicester are going to do well this season, although it's quite unfortunate that Wesley Fofana broke his leg in a friendly game against Villarreal, so that could affect their prospects. But Leicester are still looking good and they'll expect to finish in the top 6. And I'm just hoping Kelechi could kick on this season because I was a bit concerned with him not starting the game with Brendan Rodgers moving back to a 4-2-3-1 formation and playing Barnes and Maddison and Jose Perez behind Vardy. But when you look at the way they're performing, Kelechi Iheanacho should be the #1 striker of that club right now. Like, respect to what Vardy has achieved, but I mean, Kelechi's just that guy. And also, I'd expect Patson Daka to do really well this season, but I hope his minutes don't eat up Kelechi's minutes, so to speak. So their Premier League season kicks off this weekend as well on Saturday. 3 p.m. kickoff at home to Wolverhampton. So let's see how they get on. I'll be looking at that starting lineup as well. Hopefully, Kelechi has forced his way into the starting lineup considering what he did over the weekend. So I wish Kelechi and Wilfred Ndidi all the best for the season. I'm sure they're both going to be excellent, and we need them to be because, as I mentioned before, AFCON is on the way, guys. Moving on to Alex Iwobi at Everton. Another critical season for Alex Iwobi. I believe this is his 3rd season at Everton. So we really need him to kick on. And it's going to be his 3rd season with the new manager as well at Everton. So Rafa Benitez, we're hoping he could get into Benitez good books. We know Benitez likes a player who presses well and is very good defensively as well, which are all qualities that Iwobi has. You can't fault him in terms of defensive work and pressing and leading from the front. And in the final preseason game on Saturday, he did play all 90 minutes, even though they got thumped by Man United 4-0. So there's still a lot for Everton to figure out as a team, and I'm hoping that then they don't lose any of their attacking verve because no one really thinks of Benitez as a great attacking manager. It's more like a defensive coach. But I'm hoping Iwobi could be in his good books. So they start their Premier League season on Saturday as well in a 3 p.m. kickoff. They will be playing Southampton at home, so watch out for that. Hopefully Iwobi starts the game as well. Moving on to some of our new boys in the Premier League. As I mentioned earlier, Watford have got a bit of a Nigeria contingent over there right now. We've got Super Eagles vice-captain Chust Ekong finally going to make his Premier League debut. Emmanuel Dennis going to make his Premier League debut. And Ogeneka Etebo going to make his Premier League debut. Isaac's Success is still at the club as well, but I won't be surprised if he ends up out on loan for the season. So welcome to the Premier League, Watford. Very, very happy to see it. Dennis, Etebo, and Ekong. I expect all 3 of them to get significant minutes this season. Even in their final preseason fixture on Saturday, they lost 3-1 to Crystal Palace, but all 3 of them started the game. So hopefully they could translate that form, at least starting-wise, into the season opener, which is another 3 p.m. kickoff, but against Aston Villa, who are Grealish-less. So hopefully Watford could win their first game back in the Premier League after getting promoted in the summer. Moving on to Frank Onyeka, who I already mentioned. So just for a bit of context, he's their record signing for Brentford in their history. He's been signed from FC Midtjylland, And one thing to note is they're owned, actually, Michelin's owner and Brentford's owner is the same man. So he's a Danish businessman. I don't know his name, but it meant that the deal was fairly straightforward. And thankfully, Onyeka didn't have any issues with his work permit. Their final preseason game over the weekend was a 2-1 win over Valencia. And ironically, Frank Onyeka scored the winning goal after coming on at halftime. So really, really excited for what Onyeka is going to do in the Premier League. Hopefully, he doesn't have such a good game on Friday that they destroy Arsenal in his Premier League debut. But I'm hoping he could have a good game while Arsenal can still win the match 2-1 or 3-1. So look out for Frank Onyeka and Brentford in that one. Finally, just a player who's on the Super Eagles radar, Michael Olise. He's now at Crystal Palace. So he was the first signing of the Patrick Vieira era at Selhurst Park. And I'm hoping he can be called up for the World Cup qualifiers. Although I believe he's injured, so he hasn't really featured much for Crystal Palace. And I don't believe he's going to play in their season opener, which is going to be against Chelsea, also at 3 p.m. But we're going to be keeping a close eye on Michael Olise and how he performs over the course of this season. Moving swiftly on to Ligue 1. So Ligue 1 is the only top 5 league that resumed already. So their league kicked off on Friday night with Moses Simon's Nantes in action against Monaco. And to be fair to Nantes, after going through their relegation and playoff battle last season, they've started the season with a 1-1 draw away to Monaco. Moses Simon actually got an assist here with his corner kick, and he played 83 minutes. So hopefully they could kick on and have no relegation issues this season. Next up for them, they're at home against Metz on Sunday. So watch out for Moses Simon on that one. Also, moving on, I have to talk about my star boy, Terem Murphy. After scoring 14 goals in his debut Ligue 1 campaign, we'll be hoping he can push on and hit 20 goals this season. His season started on Sunday away to Saint Etienne. Murphy played all 90 minutes as expected, but they drew the game 1-1 and he did not score, unfortunately. Next up for him, though, he also gets a crack against Monaco. So this Friday night in the 8 p.m. kickoff in Ligue 1, Lorient are at home to Monaco. So hopefully he can score his first goal of the season. And we wish him all the best, of course. Moving swiftly on to Samuel Kalu and Josh Maja at Bordeaux. Josh Maja is back from his loan spell at Fulham, although he wasn't in the squad over the weekend. So I have a feeling he's going to move, but let's see how that one plays out. The season started terribly for Bordeaux. Like, Samuel Kalu played the game, to be fair, but on Sunday they lost 2-1 at home. 2-0 at home to the promoted side Clermont Foot. To be fair, Clermont Foot played excellently. They won the game 2-0 and they should have won by more. They had at least 2 goals disallowed by slight offsides. And Samuel Kalu played 72 minutes, but he also got a yellow card. So Bordeaux have a lot of figuring out to do for this season, to be honest with you guys. It doesn't get any easier for them. They're next up against Marseille away on Sunday night. So good luck to Kalu and them, man. And we'll see what happens in terms of Josh Maja's transfer. Just touch on one more person in the French league system. Tolu Arokodare, who moved to Amiens in Ligue 2. It's not started well for Amiens. They've lost all 3 of their first 3 games in Ligue 2, and they sit 19th in the league. However, Tolu Arokodare made his debut in their second game, and he scored in that 3-1 loss. He also played in the weekend in a 4-1 home loss, so it's safe to say Amiens are not looking good for the season. Hopefully, it's just a bit of a blip, but when you lose 3 for 3 games in Ligue 2, not even Ligue 1, that's not a good sign. Next up for them, they're in action against Guingamp away on Saturday. So hopefully Arokodare could push on and at least score, because it looks like his teammates are not ready for the season. Taking it swiftly back to England and the Championship, that's another division that resumed over the past weekend. We've got a few Super Eagles hopefuls to look out for in that one. So Semi Ajayi regularly called up for the Super Eagles. After West Brom's relegation, he's back in the second tier of England, and West Brom have a new manager. It's not looking good so far, though, because they kicked off the Championship season on Friday with a 2-2 draw away to Bournemouth. But, alarmingly, Semi Ajayi was not in the starting lineup. So Semi Ajayi was on the bench and did not come on, even though West Brom played with 3 centre-backs. So that's not a good sign. But let's see if that's just a bit of a blip to start the season. Next up for West Brom, they're in action on Saturday against Luton Town. So kudos to them, and hopefully Semi Ajayi could get back into the good books of the manager. Speaking of Luton Town, one of the signings I mentioned, Fred Oyedima, English-born, eligible for Nigeria. I think he's an interesting player to watch out for. He could play as a right winger, but he could also play in midfield. He was transferred from Wickham, as I said, who got relegated, and he had what can only be described as a spectacular debut. He got a goal and 2 assists in a 3-0 victory over Peterborough on Saturday. So fair play to Fred, and hopefully he can kick on. Next up for them, I'm recording this podcast on Monday night, so he's in action tomorrow night, Tuesday night, away to Stevenage in the EFL Cup, also known as the League Cup. And then on Saturday, they'll be in action against Emergais West Brom. So good luck to Oyedima. Moving on, someone who I think should be in the Super Eagles as well, but he needs to call up Grenell Raw ASAP. Tosi Adarabayo of Fulham. I'm a bit surprised no Prem clubs came in for him, but he's got one season to play in the Championship again, which he's always bossed, to be fair, because that's what made Fulham sign him from Blackburn. Even though he was a Man City player, but before last season, he was on loan at Blackburn Rovers in the Championship, where he played very, very well. So his season started on Sunday in a home draw 1-1 against Middlesbrough. He was pretty solid, and I'd say alongside West Brom and the other team that got relegated, they're probably favourites for promotion because they have so much more money compared to the other teams. So we'll see how Fulham get on. Next game for him, Saturday away to Huddersfield. And I'm sure after these slight delusions of thinking he could get into the England squad for the Euros, I don't know what his agent was thinking, telling him to say that. I'm sure he'll call up Grenell Raw, and we should see him around the Super Eagles sooner rather than later. Just touch on one more player in the Championship who we know about his transfer, Bright Eno Bakare. So the one who moved from the Indian League. He's quite an interesting player because I know he had a lot of promise when he was younger. He was even in the Wolves setup. He could play as a cam, a second striker, or a right winger. But I've heard he's a bit of a volatile character in terms of his focus and really putting his career first. However, he wasn't in the squad for his club side Coventry's first game of the season over the weekend against Nottingham Forest. But I'll keep tabs on them. I don't know if he was injured or if the manager's just trying to see if he could break into the squad. He signed with them on a free transfer. So their next game is also in the EFL Cup or League Cup on Wednesday at home to Northampton Town. And then on Saturday in the Championship, they're away to Barnsley. So we'll keep tabs on him and see if he gets any game time anytime soon. Moving swiftly on to La Liga, we've only got 2 players in La Liga worth keeping any note of. Samuel Chukwueze at Villarreal, as I mentioned. Big season ahead for him. Final preseason fixture for Villarreal was a 2-2 draw on Saturday against Leeds United. But worryingly, Chukwueze was not in the squad. So I don't know if he's injured because I've seen videos of him training. But maybe he had a bit of a slight niggle or something was happening over there. But next up for them, they're playing in the European Super Cup against Chelsea on Wednesday night. Obviously, Villarreal won the Europa League and Chelsea won the Champions League. So they're playing at Windsor Park in Belfast. Hopefully, if Chukwueze is fit, we'll see him in action. And then they'll follow that up on Monday night at home to Granada. So fingers crossed for Chukwueze. I'm hoping he's not injured or anything like that, and it was just a precautionary situation. But speaking of Granada, they have a Nigerian player, Ramon Aziz, central midfielder. I'm sure some of you remember him from the under-20 team and the under-17 teams. We'll be keeping tabs on him because last season Granada loaned him out. But now they're back in in La Liga, excuse me. So I'll be keeping tabs to see if he plays in the game on Monday against Villarreal or if he's set for yet another loan. So watch this space, guys, on Ramon Aziz. In terms of the Spanish football pyramid, we know we've got 3 players to keep tabs on in terms of the Spanish Segunda. So Almeria and Leganes both lost their playoffs to get back into La Liga last season, and Huesca were relegated from La Liga last season, so they were hoping they could go straight back up to La Liga. So Omar Sadiq at Almeria, his season kicks off on Monday away to FC Cartagena, so hopefully he could have another 20-plus goal campaign and finally get his move to one of the big divisions, so to speak. Kelechi Iheanacho, hopefully he'll get his chance at Huesca. I can't see why he wouldn't, considering they're in the 2nd division for this season. But their season kicks off on Friday at home to Eibar. That was another team that got relegated. So they'll fancy their chances in this game and also of going straight back up. And then finally, Kenneth Omero, centre-back for Super Eagles. It's an interesting one because in La Liga, B teams for the La Liga teams are allowed to play in the 2nd division. And Real Sociedad's B team are actually in the Spanish Segunda. So for Omero, Leganes will be playing Real Sociedad's B team away on Saturday. So I wish all of them all the best. We know there's 3 slots to go back to La Liga. Moving swiftly on Serie A, and of course we have to start with the one and only Victor Osimhen for Napoli. Big season ahead, and he's also looked red hot in pre-season, so I'm hoping he can carry on that form and stay injury-free this season. The aim has to be at least 20 Serie A goals if he's fit, to be honest. Serie A doesn't start for another 2 weeks, but Napoli are done with all their pre-season games for the season. And they start the season against Venezia, so Taranebue is Venezia, but they don't play this weekend. They play the following weekend on Sunday, August 22nd. So watch out for them. Speaking of Ebuehi, they sent out a bit of a cryptic tweet, Venezia, that they hope he comes back soon from injury. So I'm hoping he's not injured, but I can't really tell if he's been playing in preseason so far. But I just hope he takes this opportunity to be in a big 5 league. So they also start against Napoli. But before they play Napoli in Serie A, next weekend, there's actually the Italian Cup. So they're playing against Frosinone in the Coppa Italia. So hopefully we can see Ebuehi make his debut for Venezia in that nice-looking kit. Another person who's back in Serie A after playing in the Premier League last season is Ola Aina. So Ola Aina is back at Torino because he was on loan at Fulham from them. It'll be interesting to see if he makes a move from Torino because as far as I could tell, he's not in their squad for preseason. Like, they haven't been playing him in preseason games. Their last game on Sunday against AZ Alkmaar ended 2-1, but I know he did not play at all. But we need him to have another good season with AFCON on the horizon. You remember he started most of the games at the last AFCON as well. So let's see what happens with Ola Aina in his situation. Will he be back in England? I don't know right now. But their league season starts on their campaign starts on Sunday in the Coppa Italia as well. So they're playing Cremonense. So let's see if Ola Aina gets a run out or if he's angling for a move and trying to sort that out as soon as possible. Moving on to Joel Obi, who I said is back in Serie A. So he signed on a free transfer for Salernitana, one of the teams that have been promoted back to Serie A. We'll be watching his progress very keenly and see if he can force his way back into the Super Eagles team like he did for the 2018 World Cup. Interestingly enough, he actually scored yesterday on Sunday in their final preseason game in a 3-1 loss to Aston Villa. So interesting to see him get on the score sheet. Their season starts in the Coppa Italia as well, but not on the weekend. It starts on Monday with the game against Regina in the Coppa Italia first round. Moving on to Bologna, there's another Super Eagle hopeful, Kingsley Michael. Bologna are in the Serie A, but they loaned Kingsley Michael last season. So it's still likely he may go back on loan. Or maybe we'll see him get his opportunity for Bologna this season. At the moment, he's still only 21 years old, so he's got time. He did play 30 minutes in their final preseason game over the weekend. And their season starts in the Coppa Italia as well against Ternana. So let's see if he plays and gets significant minutes or if they're going to loan him out again. And then finally, in terms of players playing in Italy to be aware about, we know about Iheanacho, who was one of the highest goal scorers in Serie A last season for Crotone after scoring 21 goals. It's a bit surprised to see him still at Crotone right now, but we know the transfer window still has 3 weeks to go. And from all I've heard, he should be moving. I've seen him linked to Salernitana, ironically, as well, and also been linked to Mallorca in Serie A. So those seem to be the strongest rumors so far. So we'll see if he can get to move to any of those places. But anyway, they also have a Coppa Italia game on Monday against Brescia. So we'll see if he plays that game or if he's going to be sold before that game. So we'll keep tabs on Iheanacho. Moving on to Bundesliga, Ademola Lookman, who was on loan at Fulham, is also back at RB Leipzig. However, he's not played any games for Leipzig so far. So I imagine that they're trying to get rid of him or sell him back to a team in England that want him. He's been linked with moves to Burnley or Crystal Palace. So let's see if any of those teams could get him back on loan. I believe they're trying to both get loan deals for him. But Leipzig anyway won their first German Cup game over the weekend 4-0 against SV Sandhausen. Moving on to Kevin Akpoguma and Hoffenheim. His season kicked off earlier today on Monday. They won their game 3-2 in the German Cup first round against Victoria Cologne. He played 90 minutes and hopefully he could stay injury-free because he's another player whose season was blighted by injuries last season. His Bundesliga season starts on Saturday away to Olberg. So we wish Kevin Akpoguma all the best because if he's fit, he's definitely one of the 4 centre-backs that would always be selected for the Super Eagles at this present point in time. Moving on to Taiwo Awoniyi, we've got big hopes for him. We know he signed permanently for a club record fee of, I think it was 5.65 million, I said, after his loan last season for Union Berlin. Hopefully the injury woes are behind him. As I mentioned, he started for them over the weekend in their German Cup game against Torguku Ataspor. And they start their Bundesliga season on Saturday against Bayer Leverkusen. So we wish him all the best for the season. Moving on to another Super Eagles hopeful, Kingsley Hazeboy, right back at FC Cologne. They also won their German Cup first round game, but they had to settle for penalties. They won that 4-2 against a third division team called Carl Zeiss Jena, so that's a bit shocking. But Hazeboy did start the game, so he's almost looking good in terms of starting the season and owning that spot for his club. They start their Bundesliga season on Saturday against Bayer Leverkusen. So watch out. I mean, not Bayer Leverkusen, excuse me. Hertha Berlin. Bayer Leverkusen is Awani. So they start against Hertha Berlin on Sunday. So hopefully they can avoid a bit of a relegation playoff battle this season. And then interestingly enough, there's a Nigerian player who's playing for one of the newly promoted sides who have come up to the Bundesliga in the name of Greuther Fürth. So they've got a player called Dix Nabiama. He was born in Abuja and he played half of the season last season for them in Bundesliga 2 before he was loaned out for the end of the season. But it looks like he's going to be kept for their Bundesliga season. He's a young striker. I think he's only 21 years old. And he did come on off the bench in the 68th minute for his club side in their German Cup first round fixture yesterday on Sunday. However, they did lose 5-4 on penalties. So let's see how he gets on. In terms of the Bundesliga season, they start against Stuttgart away on Saturday. So we wish him all the best and hopefully he can kick on in that one. Moving on to the Portuguese League. The Portuguese League did start this Saturday. So Zaidu Sanusi was back in action for Porto. I initially heard some unfounded rumours that he was going to lose his starting berth for them. But he started the season opener on Sunday in a 2-0 win over Belenenses. And he should continue to play. We know Sanusi has cemented that left-back spot for the Super Eagles as his own. So we just want to continue to see him play in the Champions League as well as do well in Porto as they try to regain their title. Next up for them is an away game on Sunday against Famalicão. So we wish him all the best. And then finally, Chidozie Awaziem and Boavista. They've signed him permanently, as I mentioned earlier. They kicked off their season with the 3-0 loss away to Gil Vicente. He wasn't in the squad though, so maybe he's injured. So we'll see. Watch this space. Next up for them on Monday, they play Pacos Ferreira. I'm sure Awaziem will be keen to make sure he's not stuck in a relegation battle this season again, because he doesn't want to lose his place. And with people like Akpoguma, Ekong, even people like Adarbayo trying to push for spots, you know, it could be a peak time for him. You know, he could really lose that spot because I'm not sure he necessarily deserves to be in the squad, to be fair, apart from the fact that he brings good vibes. So we wish him well this season and hopefully he can push on. Moving swiftly on, Super Eagles #1 goalkeeper, Marika Okoye and Sparta Rotterdam. He signed a new contract over the summer, so congratulations to him. And he was voted the player of the season. So he'll be keen to build up on that first full season he's had as a starter in Europe. Next up for his club side, they start their Dutch Eredivisie season on Sunday away to FC Utrecht. So I wish him all the best and hopefully he could just kick on and flourish for the rest of the season. Moving on to the Russian League, and Chidera Juke, his side played their third game of the season and they lost their second game in a row, unfortunately. It was a 2-1 loss away to Dynamo Moscow on Sunday. But in more positive news, Chidera Juke did score his first goal of the season. So hopefully he could kick on and force his way back into Granit Ro's thoughts. Next up for CSK Moscow, they're in action away to FC Rostov on Saturday. And finally, in terms of Russian League updates, Victor Moses, former Super Eagles player, he played on Saturday as his club side Spartak Moscow, who've made his loan move permanent, lost surprisingly at home to a club called Nizhny Novgorod, 2-1. To be fair, they dominated the game and they're probably just very unlucky to lose that one. But they've got one win from 3 games too as well. And they're also involved in the Champions League qualifier at the moment. So they lost the first leg against Benfica 2-0 at home to, this was last week. So this Tuesday, they need a miracle going to Estadio da Luz, playing against Benfica. Hopefully they can turn around that 2-0 deficit, but it's going to be really, really tough, to be fair. And then they get back to the league on Saturday, playing a team called Ural. So those are the updates in terms of the Russian League and things to be aware about. Moving on to the Jupiter League, Paulo Onuachu and Cyril Dessers back at Genk. I thought Onuachu might have been sold by now, but it's a bit of an overpriced market for him because I heard Genk put a £22 million fee for him and he's already 27 years old. So in a COVID-depressed market, it's not really surprising that he hasn't been sold. But anyway, they're 3 games into their league season. They initially started poorly with just 1 point, but then they won their league game 2-1 on Saturday against Kevi Kodrijig, with Polonuachu also scoring his first league goal of the season, which was nice to see. We know it was the MVP last season, so he's got a lot to build up on from last season. Also, in terms of the Champions League, they're also involved in the Champions League qualifiers. In the first leg, they lost 2-1 at home to Shakhtar Donetsk, but Onuachu did score the goal, so he's got 2 goals for the season. And they're going to play the second leg of that qualifier in Shakhtar on Tuesday. So hopefully Genk can overcome that deficit. Remember, there's no more away goals in European competitions, so it's just a matter of making sure you tie the scores and you play well. After that, they'll be playing Leuven in the Belgian League on Saturday, so we wish him all the best. And speaking of Alassane Youssouf, who I touched on, defensive midfielder, FM Wonder Kid, he's playing for Royal Antwerp in the Belgian division this season. He literally just signed for them, and he started his first game for them on Sunday in a very, very impressive 5-2 win for Royal Antwerp, away to Standard Liège, who are one of the bigger teams in the division. Interestingly enough, their striker, Michael Frey for Royal Antwerp, scored all 5 goals. I know, right? That's ridiculous. So next up for Alassane Youssouf, maybe he could break into Ganaro's thoughts, but for now, let him just keep starting games and doing well. Next game for his club side is Friday away to Charleroi, so I wish him all the best and hopefully he can kick on such promising debut. And then, moving to the Scottish Premier League, Leon Balogun, Joe Aribo, and Calvin Bassey, and Nnamdi Ufobo, who's obviously out indefinitely. Their league campaign started not this weekend, but the weekend before. Balogun, Bassey, and Aribo all started the game as they beat Livingston 3-0 at home. However, they then played their Champions League playoff as well last week, Tuesday, which they lost 2-1 away to Malmo. Balogun and Aribo were not in the squad for this game, though, so that was a bit of an interesting one. And Bassey was on the bench. And then over the weekend, they lost their first league game in 40 games, 1-0 to Dundee United. Only Aribo started the game. Balogun and Bassey were not in the squad, so I'm not really sure what's happening in there. But anyway, next up for them, they've got the second leg of the Champions League qualifier on Tuesday against Malmo. So Malmo come to Ibrox. So you'd like to think Rangers would be much better at home. And then they've got a Scottish League Cup game against Dunfermline on Friday. So that's it in terms of Scottish Premiership. And then just to round up the last few leagues. Just to round up in terms of the final European leagues to be aware of for the season, starting with the Turkish League. The Turkish League starts over the weekend, this weekend coming. Ahmed Musa back at back in Europe at Fatih Karagümrük. So they finished 8th last season, as I mentioned, and they also signed Mehdi Benatia on a free transfer. Critical season for Musa, and his season starts on Saturday at home to Gaziantep. So hopefully we can see him start the game and actually get some goals and assists just to boost his credentials. As I mentioned earlier, still only 28, so a lot of football for him to still play. And then moving on to Osayi Samuel at Fenerbahce. I'm pretty sure he's one of those that's got an eye on the Super Eagles as well. He should be settled after moving to Fenerbahce in January. Big season for him, although he's been starting a lot of games in pre-season. Their first game is on this Sunday against away to Demirspor. So hopefully with Ozil also settled after coming in January, we could see Osayi Samuel kick on and the team just show a bit more cohesiveness. Jesse Sekidika at Galatasaray. Big season ahead for him. He got loaned towards the end of the season last year. But he started both of Galatasaray's UCL qualifiers a fortnight ago, although they lost terribly to PSV 7-2, who've also got Nani Madueke. And he was not in the squad for the Europa League first leg qualifier that they had last week Thursday against St Johnstone of the Scottish Premiership. And this game actually ended 1-1 in Galatasaray Stadium, so that was a bit of a shock. So with their season not starting yet, their next game is actually this Thursday against St Johnstone back in Scotland. So you would like to think that they could right those wrongs and just dispatch St Johnstone handsomely, because if they lose, that'll be a bit of an embarrassment. And then their league season will start on Monday away to Giresunspor, who look like one of the more promoted teams. So we'll keep tabs on if Sekidika's playing or if he just got run out because a lot of other players are not yet been back to pre-season, or if he actually kicks on and could show his worth for a club as big as Galatasaray. And then moving on to Sivasspor, as I mentioned, Okechukwu Azubike moved to them from Başakşehir. They've also got Leke James, who came from Saudi Arabia back there. and they've got a player called Larry Kayode, who's a winger, a really good player as well. So we wish them all the best. I mean, 3 Super Eagles in their starting lineup, and they start their league campaign on Monday against Konyaspor. So hopefully we could see all 3 of them start the game and all flourish. And then last but not the least, in terms of the Turkish league to be aware of, Paul Mukairo. Paul Mukairo was at Anderlecht last season, and he's been signed on loan by a club called Antalyaspor. So hopefully he could kick on in the Turkish league and have a really, really brilliant season starting games and not just being on the bench sometimes. I mean, it's not the greatest sign when a Belgian league side are loaning you out, but he's still young. He's only 20, so hopefully he could take his opportunity and show them that they were wrong to loan him out. But anyway, next game for him, or starting game of the season, would be on Sunday against Godsepe. So we wish him all the best for the season. Moving swiftly on to the Cypriot League, Abdullahi Shehu and Iyai Atemwen play for Omonia Nicosia, who are the champions. Shehu won the league last season. Atemwen's been loaned from Dynamo Zagreb, so that's a bit of an interesting one because Zagreb were actually they're actually playing in the Champions League qualifiers, both of them. But it looks like Iyai Atemwen's currently injured. Anyway, their season kicked off last weekend with a 3-0. Well, 2 weeks ago, they lost 3-0 to Dynamo Zagreb, ironically. So I don't know if that's when Omonia Nicosia decided they like Atemwen. But Omonia Nicosia have dropped out of the Champions League qualifiers because they lost handsomely. And then they played the Europa League qualifier on Thursday against a team called Flora. Abdullahi Shehu played 90 minutes at right back. And their next game is the return leg this Tuesday away to Flora. But in terms of the Cypriot League, their league does not start until September. So likewise for Francis Zoho, we're not going to see him in action until September when their league resumes. But I'll be keen to see if he keeps his place in their team. And then moving on to the Czech League, Peter Olajinka and Slavia Prague, defending champions. Their league is in full swing. 2 games have been played so far, and they've won both of those games. Although Olajinka did not make his debut for the season until the Champions League qualifier last week. So on Tuesday, they lost 2-0 to Ferencváros, who are the champions of Hungary. And their next game is actually the crucial second leg tie at home on Tuesday in Slavia Prague. So hopefully Slavia Prague can turn around that deficit. And then they've got a league game against Mlada Boleslav. So let's see how they could do in that game. And then, just before we round up, in the Greek league, we know that Hemio Yekuru has moved there for a fresh start. He's at Olympiacos, one of the biggest clubs, if not the biggest club in Greece. They are also involved in the UCL qualifier because their league has not yet started. They drew 1-1 at home to FC Ludogorets, who are the champions of Bulgaria. And the second leg takes place tomorrow on Tuesday. So hopefully we'll see if Onyekuru could also make his debut and make a big impact. And then last but not the least, talking about the Nigerian Premier League, Aqua United won the league for the first time in their history, I believe. So congratulations to Aqua United. They won the league by 5 points over Yimba. So the Nigerian Premier League season is over. And Iweala is off to Esperance of Tunisia. And John Noble will probably stay at Yimba. So we probably won't cover that many NPFL for now unless another surprise player could break into the national team. Thanks for watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and click the bell to get a notification whenever we drop a video. You can also find our social media channels listed below. And of course, up Super Eagles and Nigerian the ever carry last.